Welcome to Go Sports Tactics. I'm here with one of the best in the business, attacker on the snake side of the field, Keith Brown, Tampa Bay Damage.
It's one of those things I actually learned over time with playing the tournament and the games before. You'll see Brendikov makes a Brendikov shot and shoots me over the top. I didn't even know he could see over the top. You see him in the middle of the field right there. He is going to run the right 50 on the break. That's where he really wants to go.
Welcome to Go Sports Live. I'm Matty Marshall. Hope you're having an awesome Wednesday here. Man, we got a lot to discuss today and some news, not really to break, but definitely to break down. I got Tim Stelzl here, young up-and-coming killer for New York Extreme. Want to pick his brain about how he got on the pro field, talk about his game. You definitely played pretty awesome, I thought, in Vegas. We'll get to that in a second, but first of all, everyone mark your calendars. May the 30th. We have the Ultimate Shootout. We're going to have episode 1 debut. I'm actually going to be getting in a car next week and road tripping out to Texas for that event. Very much looking forward to finally getting some paintball back up here and running again. The divisional brackets came out for the NXL. So, Tim, I want to pick your brain on that and what everyone on the East Coast has been, talking about as that just hit the news yesterday. So, and then we got a lot of content coming at you. We got Tactical Tuesdays. Todd Martinez breaking down the final game against the Russians. What an epic win that was. I think that's still one of the best wins ever, considering how deep pro paintball is right now. He goes blow for blow and point for point and breaks down their final match. We got Ryan Moorhead coming up. He's going to be breaking down their win against the Russians in 2018 when he won the MVP at the World Cup. That's going to be next week. And yeah, we'll be doing those every Tuesdays. We do shows Wednesdays and Fridays here at Go Sports Live. And then Dynasty and Ryan Greenspan at home with San Diego Dynasty. He's been having some cool content as well, too. So yeah, man, everyone's just trying to still make the paintball thing happen here while we're living this, this Rona life, this quarantine life, and it's different all over the place. But anyway, Tim, let's jump into it, man. How you doing today?
Doing great, man. Another day. Let's get to it.
Yeah, well, thanks for coming on the show. So I wanted to get you on the show for a couple reasons. One, as I was doing my due diligence and my homework before the first event, I'm calling around talking to everybody. I called Harris up and, we're, just discussing your guys' squad. And I was, he's always fun to talk to. He talks a lot of shit. It's just always a fun conversation to have with Harris. As anyone that's watched the game of paintball knows, he's a little similar off the field, but a little more chill, but still really funny and likes to be a little provocative.
Yeah, that guy's another breed for sure.
For sure. But he was breaking your team down. He's like, Matty, I'm calling my shot, dude. This kid, Tim Stelzl, remember the name? He's going to be really good. He's already really good, but he could be one of the greatest. I'm like, come on, bro. I've seen all of the best paintball players for the past, since 1994. Give it to me straight. Are you just hyping this kid up, or is he going to be the real deal? And he's like, Matty, I really think this kid's going to be the real deal. I'm like, all right, let me see it in Vegas. And then sure enough, you definitely showed up in Vegas. I was going back and watching some of those points this morning. So I want to pick your brain about how you came up. I want to pick your brain about Vegas. But also another reason I wanted to get you on the show is I kind of jumped on Harris's Instagram live the other day. And when he was talking to Ryan and Spica, and you came on there only for a little bit, and you're like, Spica, I want your job. And I was like, oh, this kid's talking hell of shit right now. Okay, this is great. So anyway, you kind of were calling Kyle out a little bit. And I mean, he's kind of a legend in the snake. Yeah. So the fact that you had a little bit of a chip on your shoulder to call Kyle and be like, I want your job. And then you did show up in Vegas. But you're only 21. The road is long. So let's, before we get into the weeds here and talk about all the stuff you guys got going on currently, what's going on over there, let's talk about how you came up. So where did you get your start? You're only 21, but you definitely, I thought you were pretty impressive. I don't want to, having to be carrying around your goggles in a semi truck. I don't want to blow your head up too much, but you definitely showed up in Vegas. Pretty solid. I thought, again, I was rewatching some of those points and you look pretty good and aggressive, pretty clean over there, kind of weaving your way cutting through that snake side. But where did you come up?
So I started like pretty much anybody else, like a birthday party when I was 10 years old kind of thing with my buddies. But the real place I started with, as far as tournament paintball goes, when I was like 14 or 15 years old, I came to a local field by where I live called Crazy Paint Paintball. And they kind of were the people that groomed me into being like an aggressive snake player and things like that. I showed up, I had no clue about how to play tournament paintball. I'd only ever played in the woods. And the owner of the field, Anthony Galasso, kind of took me under his wing and he just said, go run headfirst into the snake and just blow people's backs off. And I just said, all right, whatever you say, man. And like, he literally taught me everything I know to this day. And the coolest thing about it actually is that way before, like years and years ago, back in the day, Harris and Arslan actually used to play with Anthony, the owner of that field, in like the AXBL, like D3. So it's kind of cool that like they kind of came up with him, and then I came up with him as well. And then now to get to play on the same team as them playing pro is like it's really like it's surreal, you know. So that was kind of how I got my start. From there, I was playing Division 5 and stuff like that. I met some like-minded individuals, went up to the Boston Combine, played, I think it was Combine 12 was my first one. And then that's kind of how I got my name out there. I met the Preferred Mob guys, Dean Carlton and all those dudes. Played Division 2 with them for 3 years, I think. We got one national win in Texas. You were commentating on that. I was playing in that game. And then after that, I think after that year that we won, we went to semi-pro. And then played 3 events with them, semi-pro, and then went right to pro.
Hold on. You're just railing through these. I got some questions to ask you here. First of all, let's talk about the mentality that you bring into this. So, because where you are now in your game is, and anyone that wants to go back and rewatch some of these points, go check out Tim in the Snake, number 10. Hennessy was over there as well too. You're 10, Hennessy's 17, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but you were just very aggressive, dude, constantly pushing the issue. Did you play any other sports? Did you play football? Did you play lacrosse? I know you're from the Northeast. You know, what other sports did you play? Because sometimes you can't teach aggression. You can bring aggression out of guys sometimes, but it is very difficult to build that proper aggressive snake player mentality from a timid person. It can happen. It's very rare. It's much easier to go the other way. Take somebody that's naturally aggressive in that position and then dial them back as much as you need to dial them back depending on that specific player and where they're at. But so, because that's one of the standout things, at least in your game currently, and you're pretty polished for where you're at. But so did you play any other sports?
Yeah. So growing up, I played just about every single sport you can imagine. Like I played soccer when I was younger, but like my main 3 ones were football. I played football from when I was 9 years old till I graduated. I played lacrosse a little bit and I wrestled. So, I mean, I had aggressive tendencies. Every sport I played was a contact sport. You know what I mean? So I always wanted to be that guy that's in your face, and the shit talking thing too. That was where I grew up, was big on shit talking with sports. So coming to NYX was literally just like a no brainer with stuff like that.
Oh yeah. Okay. So let's go. Let me ask you a question about the Combine, because I'm a big fan of the Combine. I've never actually been to the Boston Combine, but just the principle of the Combine. I've been to the one now in Florida a couple years in a row. I just love what the BKI guys and Anthony and Lori, what they've been doing with that Combine. I think that's just such a fertile ground to grow paintball talent, bringing those and the coaches they brought in. Again, I'm not getting paid from BKI. I just really am a fan of that. I wish that existed when I was younger. We didn't have any of that. It was a longer, harder road. So the fact that you can kind of mainline that information in directly, I just thought was a cool thing. So how was that experience, and who was your favorite coach?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I tell anyone that asks me, like, you know, what's like a way to get better at paintball, and the Combine is like just a great environment, not only to like learn new skills, but just to kind of get your name out there and just be put on other teams. That was like the biggest thing. If I had never gone to that Combine, I never would have met the people that I did, and that never would have put me in the position that I'm at right now. So the Combine was probably the biggest turning point as far as like my career goes. So if you ever have like a question about going after those, it's a no-brainer, because you're going to learn so much as far as your skills go and things like that. Picking the brains from pros, like you said, you never had that back in the day, and to have that and not want to try and strive to go to that and learn from them is, like I said, it's a no-brainer. But
it's a good investment, man. And like you said, it gets your name. I mean, look at some of the guys that have come up recently, and looking at I mean, you know, Tim Montresor was down there scouting talent. I mean, it really is a place you can go and scout talent, and there's going to be some big name pro players that have come out of that. We'll see how, you know, again, you're still really new here in your pro career. And like I said, I don't want to be like, you know, all right, let's back it up. We got to get Tim's goggles in here, you know, like, and I don't want to blow your head up too much. Or I'm going to start getting texts from Harris and Bo. But still, it's good to see, because people are always asking me, they're like, oh, what happens when the dynasty guys retire? What happens when such and such retires? I'm like, dude, next man up. This is how it is. You know, that's just the natural progression of the world in and of itself. It's just the way of things, dude. I'm not worried at all. Yes, we got to deal with this quarantine bullshit. We're going to get through this. Just like there was an awesome post on Instagram. It was about from Instagram, but it's been all over the place now. But it was written by I think it was Historic. So it's a big. I love reading. I love reading about history. History is fascinating. If you read history books, you will know that the time we're living through isn't anywhere close to that crazy compared to what's happened. And so it basically tracks. If you were born in 1900, and then when you were 14 years old, World War I started and 17 million people died. Then when you're 18, the Spanish flu comes through, 20 million people die. You know, then as you move along and you're now getting into your 40s, you're middle-aged, and then all of a sudden here comes World War II, and 70 million people die. You know, so like everyone just take a deep breath. We're going to get through this. Paintball's coming back. Everything's going to be cool. But anyway, but yeah, it's with what I just love the combine thing. I love what they're doing there. But so how did you then? So you got kind of noticed a little bit there. Transition me into New York Extreme. Like, how did you actually start playing with those dudes? Like, how did you get to the point where Harris Hussein, when I'm calling him and I'm like, yo, dude, give me the goods. Who's playing well? Who's not? How does everyone look? Who's starting where? Who's your front snake, dude? And he's like, Tim Stelzl's my guy. He's the second coming. How did you get to that spot?
Well, it starts with me just like absolutely splitting Harris's wig every single practice I ever played him against. So, no, I'm just kidding. But it actually started. So when I was at that combine, the coaches that were there it was Billy, Greenspan, Sloviak, a bunch of other guys. And I remember like standing in this big circle, and they're like, "Oh, like, what do you guys want to do? What's your goal to like get better? Blah blah blah." Or, you know, what's your goal in paintball? And I remember they came to me. People were saying, oh, I want to get better at snap shooting, this and that. They came to me and I said, I want to take your spot. Same thing. Like that chip has been on my shoulder since day one. You know, I'm coming for your spot and you better be fucking scared because I'm going to be there right after. So that was always been my mentality. So once I got onto PMOB and I was playing semi-pro and stuff like that, we always used to practice NYX at Matt's Outback in Connecticut. Like religiously, that was always who we played. We were like their sparring partners, like the younger team that always went up against them. And believe it or not, every once in a while we used to beat up on them a little bit at practice, and they would get frustrated, and you know, we'd throwing their packs around and stuff like that, and then call it a day early. But that was kind of how I got my name out there for them, was just playing against them nonstop and just splitting Harris's wig like left and right. Like he has holes in his scalp to this day.
Hey, that's the way to do it, right? Show up at the local field, whatever's in driving distance, and just hang around. Hopefully you can get in with a good divisional team, because people would ask me that same sort of question. I'm like, well, how dedicated are you? You know, if there's an open practice, show up to it. The Ironman had an open practice out here and this happens all the time. Doesn't matter what area of the world you're in. You're in the Southeast, down in Texas, you're up in the Northeast, wherever you are. Even if you got to travel, get your ass to a field where you're going to be playing against a really good team. If you're starting down at D4, then show up where the good D1 team is. Play against them. And I promise you, if you're going down the D side, going down the snake side, shooting dudes, if you're murdering those dudes or at least hanging with them and giving it a little bit better than you're getting it, I promise you, they're going to be like, what's that dude's name? Who's the dude on the D side that's just ran 2 points in a row and just eating us up over there? That's how you start making a name for yourself. Then maybe you'll get on that divisional team, and then that D1 team will maybe play a pro team, et cetera, rinse, repeat. And one day, you know, I'm calling you up and be like, Tim, we got to get you on the show, dude. Let's hear your story. So, you know, it can happen.
Yeah, and that's the thing about, you know, the driving distance thing for me. It was like, it wasn't always in driving distance. Like you said, you have to be dedicated. Like I lived in Westchester, New York, and it was a 2.5 hour drive just to get to the Outback. And when I was playing on PMOB, we practiced at Boston Paintball. So I would drive 3.5 hours there and back for practice when I was like 17, 18 years old, because that's how dedicated I was. I knew my area where I wasn't as fertile of like a place for paintball as far as high level goes, which is okay. But I knew that if I wanted to get better, I had to seek out the people that were good. So that's kind of what I did, was like, I'm just going to go find, I knew that the hotbeds were Connecticut, Massachusetts. I'm going to go find those good teams, and I'm just going to play against them and just learn everything I can. And now I'm kind of at the point where I want to bring what I've learned and bring it back to my area to kind of like fertilize Westchester County kind of thing.
Yeah, so you're in Westchester, Pleasantville, I believe. Is that the town you're from? Or
yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yep. Born and
So,
raised.
well, I like that you say that driving. I just have zero sympathy for people that aren't willing to go after whatever your dream may be, man. If it's paintball, cool. If it's something else, cool. Whatever it may be, build a business. It just, but you can't be lazy about it, So, because sometimes people will be like, "Oh, Matty, you don't understand. There's just no good teams in my area." I'm like, "Well, how far do you have to drive in order to get to a good team, man? I might have to drive 3 hours." And I'm like, "Bro, we used to drive I'm from San Diego. We used to drive." One time we drove to Northern California 18 times in a year. It's 7.5 hours from San Diego, one way, 7.5 hours to Rich Telford's Field in Modesto. And that's if you don't hit traffic in Los Angeles. I have no sympathy for people that are too weak to get their ass in a car and drive to where the good games are. You just don't want it. You don't want it bad enough. If you're not willing to sit in a car and for a couple hours, 3, 4, 5 hours, whatever, you just don't want it bad enough. Matt Chim, he drove like a whole day from Seattle to for his like first big tryout. He drove all the way to California. It's a crazy story. If you ever see Map Jim, you want a crazy fun paintball, like it's written in the clouds type story, ask him about it. And there's tons of those. I have no sympathy for people that are like, oh, we just have to go so far. And it's like, dude, come on. Do you really want it or do you not? So I appreciate that you're willing to get your ass in a car and drive 3.5 hours to go and make a name for yourself. Because then one day, if you're good enough,
it was definitely hell.
Here's the plane ticket. We want to buy you a plane ticket. You can get your own bed. Like, it can happen. It does happen.
Oh my God. Yeah. It was when that started happening with like Bobo and all those guys, I'm literally like, are you guys sure? Like, you don't have to do all this. Like, I'll figure it out if you want me to. But like, they were like, no, you're good. So that was like another surreal thing. I was just like, people are actually going to just try and get me out here just so I can play. Like, that's amazing.
So, okay. So then you go to the combine, playing for PMOB, you're getting your name out there. And then you're contending against the team that you want to play on. And I think the New York Extreme story is cool. It's an older name from back in the original days of the NXL. Some of my best friends from the New York area played on the original New York Extreme. So I love when they changed their name back to that, because I just thought that was like a, tip of the hat to the old school squad. And I just thought their mentality was perfect. They totally reminded me of all those dudes from that area and all the time I spent up. Just, huge fan of paintball in that area. Super fun dudes that love to play aggressive. And that's pretty much what New York Extreme is right now. So it's like a clone of the old squad. So then talk me through, did you have a tryout? Was it like for sure, hey, kid, we need to get you on this team. Let's get you some guns. Like, let's get you a spot. Like, how did it actually go down? Because people are always wondering, because every year I'm always talking dudes through their transition onto a team. They don't know what to ask for. They don't know how it works. They don't know what, there's just, they don't have, no one really knows exactly. So talk me through exactly how that went down for you, as much as you can talk about. I know some things, not everything.
So basically, they kept me in the dark for like a long time about that. I mean, I was content with playing with PMOB. We had a great program. We had a great owner and stuff like that. And he funded the team very well. So, and I had a lot of my friends on that team as well. So I really wasn't expecting it. There was I don't remember what year it was. Last year, they did like this thing at Fox 4 Paintball called the Great States Tournament. And it's like you basically pick like a draft team of people from New York, people from Connecticut, Rhode Island, whatever, all from the Northeast. And we did this big end of the year tournament just for fun kind of thing. And they invited me out. They said, hey, do you want to come play for the New York team? So I was like, yeah, absolutely. Like, that'd be awesome. Just go out there and ball with you guys. So I remember I showed up and it was just a thing for fun. So my dumbass went out the night before and like showed up late. I missed the first game. Bo was like chewing my head off, but it was okay because Pat Kraft missed the first 2 games. So it was all right. But we like pulled up afterwards and we ended up playing okay. We didn't do so great in the tournament, but I was playing all right. And then after that day, Bo was kind of just like, hey man, like, we don't want to bring you on just yet, but as soon as you're ready, we want to get you on. So he's like, we want to start training you up. They were kind of talking to me about it then. And then whatever the next year had gone by, Chicago had rolled around the past year. And they were like, you know what? We want to bring you on early so that you're ready. We don't want to have you as a starter. We want to just kind of get you into the motion of it, for these first 2 events. And then that next year when we come out to Vegas, boom, you're going to be ready to go. So that was the idea behind that.
Yeah. So you came on the squad and kind of didn't really play right away, right? I mean, you didn't really start. I was just going to look at your when you were actually when you were first rostered. Yeah, I remember you were getting in there, and this will happen where a team will pick up a dude not tell me right away. And I've got 20 pro teams and there's 200 dudes I got to keep track of essentially. And sometimes they're filtering in and out. And then there's the top level divisional team. So I'm trying to do my due diligence at all times. But every now and then someone will squeak in out there. I'm like, yeah, so here we go. New York Extreme. In my head, I'm like, who the hell is that? So, but then, so when did you earn the right to get that starting spot? Because it went from you being, okay, let's bring him on, we're going to get him a couple spins here or there, to, again, I'm calling up my source of information for your team. And I'm like, hey, give me the cliff notes, what the deal is with your squad. What does the paintball world need to know about New York Extreme right now? And he's like, dude, Tim Stelzl, bro, he's going to be killing people in the snake. So what did you do to get to that spot?
Just the whole off season, just grinding in the freezing Northeast cold as much as I possibly could. And then as soon as like the layout dropped, I was just in like kill mode. Like I remember we had flown out to, where was it for the first event? We had flown out for practice to Florida, I believe. And like I was literally just like, I'm going to do whatever it takes to just eat as much as possible, because I'm not going to get on the field unless I'm absolutely killing everyone. We're practicing Tampa Bay Damage, like Keith Brown. That's like an idol, you know what I mean? Like that's a guy that you want to emulate. So I was like, unless I'm dunking on him in the snake, I'm not doing it good enough. You know what I mean? So that was my mindset through and through. It was just, I need to stunt and practice, because you practice how you play. So that when I show up to the event, they're comfortable and they're willing to rely on me to like go out there and perform. So that was like the whole thing I was thinking.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the right mentality, because I think a lot of times younger guys that come up, I mean, you're 21, dude, and you're not a kid anymore. I mean, you are an adult, you're a grown man at 21, but you start to 21 is when you start to kind of really start to figure things out. I was joking with, I think, who was it on the show last week? I can't remember, but talk about at 18, you think you know everything. And at 25, you realize you don't know shit about the world.
Yeah.
And so 21 is when you really start kind of listening and seeing things, reading things. You're like, oh, that's how that works. Oh, okay. But having that mentality of, okay, I need to go and smoke down Keith Brown, who is an idol of yours, but knowing that, look, you can't kill a legend, but you can kill the man behind that legend. And if you pump that legend up in your mind so much, it becomes an insurmountable obstacle, because that person's, he's 10 feet tall, 500 pounds. You're trying to slay a giant, when really that's just a human being that it was talented, utilized their talent with hard work, and became really good at what they are passionate about doing. Not anybody can't do that. It's like, not everyone is created equal. Some people have different skills at certain things. Yes, we all should have equality of opportunity, but outcome is up to you. Yes, here's the opportunity. Here, you can go do this, but the outcome is completely up to how good you are at that thing and how hard you work at it. But having that right mentality and knowing whoever it is on that other side, Marcelo Margot, Ryan Greenspan, Keith Brown, Alex Goldman, Justin Rabikoff, Matt Jack, all the best, Archie Mayor, all the best in the business, Malloy. If you aren't looking across and thinking like, I want to be that, and in order to be that, I need to beat that, so I don't give a shit who this is, line all those dudes up in a row, and I'm going to smoke them down. If you don't have that mentality, you could get there, but it's going to be a longer road, because you're fighting the legend and not the man. So I think it's really cool that you have that mentality, because, sure enough, you showed up in Vegas, so we can kind of transition and talk a little bit about Vegas. I think you came as advertised. Anytime somebody calls me up and they're like, hey, watch out for my boy, or anytime somebody comes up to me, they're like, hey, Matty, I'm gonna go out there and do this or that. I'm like, hey, talk is cheap. Let me see it. And but you definitely had a pretty good event. Did you make some mistakes? Of course, everyone's going to make mistakes. And the whole like, I'm going to play 100%, I'm 10 to 10. That's impossible, dude. I don't need you to do that. I just need you to get your ass in the snake and win the battle 6 or 7 times out of 10. If you do that, we got a real good chance of winning this tournament. I mean, look at what Parrish just did for the Ironman. But it looked like you had that kind of blue collar mentality when you were getting into the snake. And I thought there was you guys went 2-2, typical New York Extreme performance. This time you did make Sunday going 2-2. And day 1 was obviously a better day than day 2. But day 2, you had to play the team that won the tournament. You got smoked by the Ironman, and then you had to play X Factor, and that was a pretty damn good game. But if you go back to the game, let's start with the Outlaws, because we'll start with that. But I have a couple different questions, specific moments. But to start out the tournament, it's the first event of the year. Just like you said, you've been working your ass off. You really are hungry to try to prove yourself to the team, to the league, because like you said, to Spica, it's like, hey, dude, I want your job. Well, The only way you get paid you can make a living playing this game. You can get paid to play paintball. It's a very rare thing. So kids, make sure you get your ass in school or get a trade. But you can get guns. You can get a paycheck. It is possible. And thank you to our paintball patrons for making that happen. But in order to do that, you have to go out and earn a legendary status for yourself. And so, you showed up in the Outlaw game. Talk me through that. It was a win. You guys won by 3. Final score was 7-4.
Yeah, definitely. That was a good game for us. We wanted to come out, and usually we come out a little bit slow. So we wanted to come out there and kind of get all cylinders firing, and then go into, who did we play next? The Iron Man after that, or is it X Factor? I can't remember.
You played Revo.
But we wanted to just go in there. Revo after that, yeah. Especially knowing that we had Revo up next. We wanted to go in there with just as much momentum as possible. So we were just really happy to get the early win like that. Personally, I didn't think I performed very well in that first game. I was getting shot off the break a lot, a couple stupid mistakes, and just like little things like letting them come down on the snake. Like I was definitely nervous. I could tell walking out of the box, like I had that pit in my stomach up until like that first buzzer sounded. But it was just a surreal feeling just being there and stuff like that. So I kind of got wrapped up in the moment. But once I got like the ball rolling and kind of got momentum, it was just like any other game, you know?
Well, I'm glad that you admitted that you didn't play well in that first game because, yeah, you didn't really impress in that first game. But then that second game, when you definitely shook it off. And I thought that was kind of important in your trajectory through that tournament because the ones, as everyone knows, they set the tempo and the pace for everyone else in the entire field. If your one is not doing, if your first attacker on either the D side or the snake side is not doing what they're supposed to be doing, it makes it a bad day for everyone else. And it just crescendos and ricochets through the rest of the game plan if you're not getting your ass down the field and shooting the lanes you're supposed to be doing based on the game plan, or dying early or dying stupid, any one of those things. But so you guys went down to Revo, and then you guys ended up winning that game. But you had a really awesome point when you guys were down by 2, and I thought this was a formative moment for you. You're down by 2. You go down and you just feast on the snake side, and I say that word specifically, feast, because afterwards you turned around to us up in the commentator booth, and you were like, "Let me eat," and I was like, "Okay, here's the kid that they told me that was supposed to show up today that didn't show up in that first game, but he just showed up in a really big. You're playing one of your regional rivals." New York Extreme and Revo, a lot of people, if you don't know, you need to know that that's a huge rivalry between two teams that, yes, they like each other off the field. They talk a ton of shit to each other. There was the whole jersey bet thing, and Revo was getting the better of you. So that was a big win because if you guys go out and beat the Outlaws, but then you drop against Revo and then you have to play the Ironman and X Factor the next day, good luck. Now you got to go and beat one of those because Ironman were on fire. They obviously won the event, and then X Factor coming off of a series championship. One of the best teams in the world and the best on any given day they could win now with 2 wins last year. So anyway, talk me through that moment right there. Not really a good first showing for you in the first game. Harris has to get his ass in the snake and start one-hand gangster getting people. And then you come through a little bit in the clutch again, down by 2 in that Revo match.
Yeah, so that was definitely, that point in particular was crazy. I remember coming off the field, we were down 0-2, and our coach, Jesse Benoit, literally grabbed me by the jersey and was like, "Listen, kid, you need to go out there and be the kid that you're supposed to be. You got to go out there and do what you're supposed to do." So I just was like, "All right, snap, let's go." So I was like, I'm going to go down the snake. I'm going to do whatever I have to do. And I remember I dove in the snake. I looked through this little crack shot. I caught Frank Antomaso on his pack, diving into the Dorito 3. And then I was like, all right, sweet. Let's get the ball rolling. We got kill 1. So I started crawling down the field. I remember I caught Pike on the inside, just in the back center. And then I don't know. I just felt the move. I was in there into the snake, and I just was like, this is what I got to do. I'm going to jump inside. I'm going to wait for it. And I'm just going to go get both of them. And that moment was sweet. And the reason why I got so hyped up and was trying to say yo, let's eat, was because the person that I bunkered was Omara, and the person in the back was Darula. So back in the day when I was coming up, Darula used to coach me on my first Division 4 team playing out of NEPL Boston. He used to coach me with his brother John. And then later on when I was playing for PMOB, we practiced against Revo at Fox 4, and it was a pouring rain, shitty day. And Darula and Omara were absolutely destroying us, shooting us in the back of the head, just obliterating us. And it was a miserable day for us being a Division 2 team, just getting shit on. So then I remember like going out there and being like, wow, I just feasted on all those guys and being like, I'm bunkering Amara, I'm bunkering Darula. Like these are guys that like I one looked up to, and two, they used to shit on me all the time. So like that really got me hyped up. And from that moment on, I was just like, all right, it's fucking go time. So
nice. So that's perfect. First of all, yes, Darula, Omara, that's exactly what you're supposed to do to young guys like Tim. When it's a rainy day and you're better than if you're going to come out on that field. And like you said, if you're going around to these older guys, like, I want your job. It's like, all right, well, come and take it, kid. So
and I was honored.
You're going to get punished.
You know what I mean? I was honored.
Yeah. Well, no, and that's why I always ask guys, I'm like always interested to see what sports you played coming up, because I really feel that, and this is why I'm a huge fan of paintball in general, or jiu-jitsu, or wrestling, or football. I know that brain damage associated with football now, it's CTE. It's a little bit different story. Lacrosse also, similar thing there. But man, I played a little bit of football, played a lot of baseball, but did karate. We didn't really have jiu-jitsu in San Diego because I'm old as shit. But anyway, but I've done some jiu-jitsu, done some boxing, obviously paintball. So it's like you doing things like that, it makes you realize you're not made of glass. And my wife's pregnant right now with a son, and could bet your bottom dollar, dude, that I am for sure going to have that kid be participating in these activities, because I don't want that guy to become a man and realize that he can't take a punch, that he's made, thinking he's made of glass. He's, falls like that's not how we all got here, man. It's not how we all, as these talking apes with opposable thumbs with these fleshy bodies fought the lions, the tigers, and the bears and conquered this earth. That, we didn't get here by being weak and thinking we're made of glass. That's one of the reasons I love the game. So it's always cool to see guys like yourself that came up, through wrestling, through football, through lacrosse, then coming up playing paintball, having the older guys like Darula and Omara punish you like they should. And then now here we are. And now we got to get, your face on the show and your name out there, because you're going to be helping lead the charge. You're only 21. You got a bright future in front of you. But thank God those older, and you better do the same thing. Don't hold those kids' hands too much, just enough.
Absolutely.
It's like, that's why Shane Pastana, I loved, and I love, Todd Martinez is a coach now for the Ironman, but my coach coming up when I first got on the Ironman was Shane Pastana. And, he didn't hold our hands, and he would always tell us that the axe was sharp, but he would also be, if you deserved a compliment, he'd give you the compliment. But if you deserve to get an earful and tell you you're playing like a little bitch, he's going to tell you that too. So, I just like to hear that coming out of that area, because you guys are obviously, that area in the world is notorious for it, but so is Texas, so is California. It's just good to see the tradition continues. So let's move on. So then you guys go and you have a pretty rough day, even though you did have a close game against X Factor, 2-point loss there. That one went blow for blow a little bit. But you guys got murdered by the Ironman. Obviously, the Ironman were destined. But let me ask you about that win, though, because you played that team, and you coming in, if looking at how the Ironman finished last year, I mean, they were 10th overall, I believe, last year. I didn't go check my notes again real quick. But yeah, they weren't, heating up the world as far, yes, they on a rebuild, but coming in with as deep as the entire field is right now for an up-and-coming guy like yourself on an up-and-coming team, the Ironman's victory should give you some hope. If it doesn't, man, I don't know what you're looking at. But I want to hear it from your own words. What do you think?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, going into that game, even though the Ironman finished the previous season in 10th place, by no means did we take them lightly. We knew that they had a lot of weapons on that team. Corey Hall is an absolute beast for them. Nick Sloviak is just a complete rock. And then on top of that, having like Todd Martinez's coaching is just, it's a no-brainer that they're going to be a good team eventually. It was only a matter of time. So we definitely didn't go into that game taking them lightly, but we had like a bad habit of starting slow. And, once we go on that downward spiral, the snowballing effect happens. So that's something we need to work on going forward. But like that game in particular, I just remember like shout out to Nick Sloviak. Like he was just decimating us from the back center, like absolutely, especially on the snake side, just absolutely destroying us. And that was a huge way that they beat us, was we just couldn't even get 5 guys out off the box. You know what I mean? So it's a hard to play 5-on-3, especially against an organized team like that. It was just, they played perfectly, and they deserve to win that tournament because of it. You know what I mean? A-Rod was just an absolute beast. That goes without saying. But yeah, they had every answer for us. We couldn't even get in the snake and give them a presence. You know what I mean? So
yeah, the 2 games that you guys struggle with were against the Ironman in the prelims, because the other 3 games, even the game against X Factor, were close. You beat the Outlaws by 3. that's a pretty good win. Then you beat Revo by 1. That was a great game, man. You want to watch a good game? Go back and watch that game. I feel like every time you guys play, that's always one of my favorites. When I look at the schedule, I'm like, oh, Revo's playing New York Extreme. I always star that game. Like, okay, that's one I really want to watch. Just because that's just a fun one from an entertainment perspective, and then from a paintball perspective as well too. But yeah, you guys got murdered by the Ironman. You had a really hard time with survivability. You play X Factor, lose by 2, 2-2 record, and that ended up pushing you guys on. So you made it into Sunday again. 2-2 is what you guys do. I feel like I always have Milo sitting up with me in the commentator booth on Saturday afternoon after going 2-2. I feel like a broken record. I'm like, I got Milo up here from New York Extreme, and he's up here counting the points right now and hoping they make it in, because lo and behold, they went 2-2. And then you guys match up against X Factor, who also kind of murdered you guys pretty solid. That was a 1-7 game. So talk to me about what's going on in your mind heading into Sunday. No one knew who was going to play who too, which was that had never happened before. There's a lot of weird stuff going on in 2020, playing in the dark, not knowing who people are going to play because of the darkness. So you guys head into Sunday, you made it, but you don't know who you're going to play. So we pull out of the trophy X Factor. Now you have to get mentally ready for X Factor. Talk to me about that mentality, and then talk to me about that game.
So once we drew X Factor again, I was honestly excited to kind of just give them another shot. That was like what I was really looking forward to. Once we drew them originally, I was like, oh, sweet, I get to play against Billy. Because back in the day, Billy used to coach me as well. So that was another person that I was like really itching to get in. And he's a great, you know what I mean? Especially in the snake. So I was really itching to get at him. And then not only to do it once, but to get another chance to do it again, especially on Sunday. I was just like really itching for that. So the whole night before, I was kind of nursing an injury because in the Revo game, I had like pulled my calf really bad. So the whole night I was just icing, stretching, and just like kind of visualizing like kind of what we did wrong in the X Factor game and what I can do better in the next one. But definitely had like those nerves going in, like my first pro Sunday and like playing against the series champs, world champs from the previous year. But I was just, I don't really think about that stuff when I go out to the box. It's just like the night before, just kind of like getting my head right and things like that. But once I'm on the field and playing, it's like anybody's game. But yeah, I mean, we were banging with them. I mean, for sure. They weren't, it wasn't like when we played the Ironman where they're just completely shutting us down in every way. We were kind of going back and forth with them. We made a couple mental mistakes for sure. Just throwing bodies away, running down the field. That's the thing we struggle with a lot is closing. And that's actually what we've been working on a lot lately, is trying to get better at that, like 3-on-3, or even like when we're kind of winning the points, we were just giving a lot of bodies back, especially the X Factor. So that was a huge issue we had, was closing the points. Because we would go down, get a few kills, and then all of a sudden we throw 3 bodies away, and then they pull it back because they have stellar players. So it's like, I don't know. That was a tough game to lose, especially the way we lost it on Sunday morning like that. But I don't know.
Well, that's an experience thing. Again, with your roster, it's been a thing in development. You guys pared down a little bit, and it's just going to take some time. I really do like your lineup, though. You got Rosati back. I do think that he's an asset on that D side. He's got to work on communication, though. He's real quiet out there. I thought Robbie Altimore stepped in pretty solid, during the injury. Remember when you went down, we didn't know if you were going to come back. Altimore got in there. He did a pretty decent job of picking up the slack. Obviously, we know that Harris can play the game. Delano's a real solid back guy. I love what Hennessy and Pat Kraft have done. They've proven themselves out there. That's a solid lineup, man. That's a lineup that can contend. But I do like that, your mentality. You were talking about, hey, I want to go play Billy Bernacchi. I want to play one of the greatest snake players to do this. Yes, and like I said earlier, you can't kill the legend. That's his. He gets to keep the legend. That you have to earn yours. But that's how you start becoming a legend, is you take the legend down. You can't kill the legend, but you can kill the man behind the legend. And you got to just focus on beating that man, because every man is beatable. And so I do like that you have that mentality. Your entire team kind of has that mentality. I hope you guys do. But I do think that you guys do have a bright future. Yes, fixing those small things. You guys are a little sloppy in the close. Your survivability sometimes it needs to be worked on. And you guys do get slow starts. Sometimes I'm out there, I'm like, they're wearing New York Extreme jerseys, but they're not playing like New York. They're really quiet. They're not hyped at all. And then all of a sudden something will happen. Okay, here come the loader dumps and the shit talking. Okay, they woke up. I don't know if you guys didn't get the coffee or were hungover from the night before or didn't get the sleep right or what the deal was. But hey, consistency comes with experience. it's hard, it's tough, it takes a lot of time. But I just, with that roster that you guys have put together, I really like that roster, man. It's fun to watch. It's talented. There's definitely some solid paintball ability across the board in the positions that you need it. I really think that you guys have that bright future. You made a Sunday your first event, but now with this layoff we've been having and the news coming out of the NXL, let's talk a little bit about your division. So you guys obviously are in the East. You're matched up with the Russians, Revo, Outlaws, Level, Energy, Aftermath, and Infamous. In the South Central, this might be the division of death. Heat, X Factor, AC Dallas, AC Diesel, Damage, and ML Kings. And then the West has Thunder, Uprising, Impact, Ironman, Dynasty, and DMG. Let's talk about this a little bit. First, we'll start with yours. What do you think about this? First of all, what do you think about this in general? I like it, man. I'm glad that they're trying to do something here. I mean, we're in an unprecedented state of affairs. You know, there is no old man to consult on this because paintball wasn't around the last time we had a goddamn pandemic like this. So, you know, we are where we are. You know, it's like I said, I'm about to get in a car and drive to Texas next week so I can go down there for that one-on-one because, you know, we need to have competitive paintball. We're going to roll the one-on-one out eventually at a certain point in time. Got to do it now because, you know, paintball needs to be played, man. So we're going to go to Texas and do that. And we don't have dates for this yet, but this is where we are. Hopefully Cup can go down as planned. We can all get back together here, but this is what it is. So first of all, your thoughts in general, and then your thoughts on that East Regional Conference.
First of all, I think it's a great idea. I love the idea of bringing the tournaments back to like local fields and things like that. I think that's going to be a great thing for paintball in general. My favorite thing about this bracket that we have is that you guys put Aftermath over here. I think that's awesome. Because they're basically all Chicago guys. I think that's hilarious. But that's going to be great. Rivalry game right there. Another rivalry game with Revo and just Red Legion in there to keep it interesting. It's going to be awesome. I'm really looking forward to that bracket. South Central, geez, good luck. RIP to those guys. That's going to be crazy. It's going to be a lot of good games out of that. And then like, seriously, like, but the West Coast too, like that's going to be a lot of good games, man. I think it's going to be awesome. Yeah, seriously. Like, but I think it's going to be really good. And the one-on-one thing too, like you were mentioning, was I think that's going to be a great thing for paintball, like moving forward, because it's really easy to follow. That's like a big thing. It reminds me a lot of like esports. I don't know if you ever watch like competitive, like Call of Duty or whatever, something like that. It reminds me a lot of that. And I think it's going to be a great way to kind of introduce people to paintball and then maybe kind of show them the team aspect of it. I think that's going to be a super great idea. I love what they're doing with the Pro Tour. Love what they're doing with the shootout. I think that's going to be huge moving forward for paintball.
Yeah, absolutely. It's love what HK is doing with the Pro Tour. Dude, this is all good, man. We're all in the same battle. We're just fighting in different divisions occasionally, you know, and now for real conferences. Yeah. But that's what I always say. It's amazing. Glad they're doing that. And I'm really interested. I'm just waiting for the dates. Obviously, we got to see what the dates are going to be. We'll be there, you know, broadcasting. It's going to be cool, man. We're going to get back to it. Obviously, we got to try to keep everything as safe as possible, you know, but you know, paintball's not jiu-jitsu, dude. You're not hugging up on each other. I mean, as long as everyone, you know, kind of keeps it as safe as possible. So we'll see how it goes. Again, dude, there is no old man or woman to go consult on this. We are all playing this by ear. We're all just trying to figure out a way forward and do the best we can in all this madness. So I'm stoked on it. I do agree that the South Central is going to be absolutely brutal. But, you know, Impact, the Ironman, and Dynasty all in the West too. And then Uprising, whichever Uprising that shows up. DMG can hang with people. Thunder is also, you know, just notorious for 1-point losses. They're a super fun team to watch. And then there's rivalries over on the East Coast, and yeah, it's gonna be interesting, man. You know, Infamous with their rebuilt roster, and we could probably spend a whole nother hour going through and just breaking all this new stuff down. But I'm excited. I can't wait to see when these events are going to be announced. Obviously, we'll keep everybody updated. But yeah, we're going to get back to this as much as we possibly can here.
Do you know how they're going to be running it? Is it going to be like a split deck format, or is it going to be like two teams kind of meet up and then those two teams play whatever their one set, or is it going to be like a split deck with other teams around? How's that going to work? I don't even know.
No idea, bro. I have no idea. Everyone's still trying to figure it. No, it's not even that. secrets. There's no point in keeping a secret. If I knew, I would let you know exactly how they're holding it down, because what does it matter? I mean, it's I think they're all still trying to figure it out, because like, think about it from the NXL's perspective. So all this crazy stuff comes out, and they have to completely change their business model. And then, because their whole thing is, well, first of all, where can you even have where will allow you to do this? Like California and Los Angeles just came out. Not that there was going to be an event in California, or in there is going to be one though now, but that's going to be at a field anyway. So we could spend a lot of time talking about this, but they had to completely change this business model and the organization of it just to figure out, like, how can we even have this? But then also waiting to play it by ear from what states are going to be open, when are they going to be open? Those states themselves didn't even know. I can only imagine the conversations going on in these governors' mansions, and they're doing the same thing we're doing right now. They're like, I don't know. Let's talk to the doctors. What do you guys think? They're like, we have no idea. Nobody knows, dude. Nobody knows exactly how all this is going to play out. So the NXL is the best they can to figure out when we could possibly. That's why the dates haven't come out yet, because now they got to call field owners. They got to call the teams. Is this cool with you? Hey, can we have this at your field? They got to call their people. Like, hey, can you drive to here? That's like the one-on-one here in Texas. It's like, who can show up? Again, I got to get my own car and drive to Texas from California on Wednesday. It's going to take me 20 hours. So, but
good luck.
The show must go on. The show must go on. So again, that's why I just don't have sympathy for people that aren't willing to go after what they want. So anyway, but it is going to be exciting, and it is going to happen. We are going to return to competitive paintball. It's just going to be with these divisional conferences the way that they are, and then hopefully we can all get back. But it's going to be interesting. It makes me want to watch it. I want to see what's going to happen, because like we just talked about, when you look at those different teams, and I mean, Jesus Christ, the South is going to be wild. The West is also going to be wild. You guys have your own story going on. The Russians are a mighty machine, infamous, rebuilt. We got all these up and coming squads. You can't sleep on Level or Energy. Obviously Revo. Revo has been just so close to getting to the finals. They've made it to the top 4. Again, it's just, there's so much compelling stories here, and it's just going to be a little bit segmented. But yeah, but hey, man, as soon as I find out, I'll try to let everybody know as much as we possibly can. But
sweet.
But yeah, it's definitely getting pretty interesting. Well, Tim, thank you so much for sitting in with me, man. Any last thoughts? Sure. Anybody you want to thank?
Yeah, of course. I want to thank all of our sponsors, HK Army, Planet Eclipse, Virtue, Rise Customs, Free Paintball, Matt's Outback. I want to thank Crazy Paint Paintball. That's my home field. Gotta love those guys. I want to thank Bo Milo and basically everyone who's gotten me up to this point. And there's so many people, Jeff Stein, Dean Carlton. Like I could go on and on. You guys know who you are. But I just want to thank everyone who's gotten me to this point. It means a lot.
All right. Well, all those dudes you just mentioned are expecting really big things out of you, Tim. So, don't let all of us down.
Nah, no chance.
No pressure. No, I'm just kidding. No, it was fun to watch you play in Vegas. Like I said before, you did come advertise. So just keep doing what you're doing. And just remember, yes, you're playing against these legends now, but you become a legend by fearlessly attacking and like you said, you got here for a reason. So continue to do what you're doing. I can't wait to see you competing for New York Extreme in that East Coast Conference. Thank everyone. Thank you guys, everyone, for tuning in. Ryan Moorhead will be on the show on Friday. And also, again, Todd Martinez Tactics episode just dropped. Looking for some interesting conversations with Ryan Moorhead, outstanding first attacker, still doing it after all these years. One of the best in the business. And then he's also going to be the Tactics episode next week as well, too. Again, those come out on Tuesdays. And Matty Marshall, Tim, thank you so much. I'll see you guys on Friday.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.